Welcome everyone to a new episode of my comprehensive NFL player review series, Studs and Duds. If this is your first time catching Studs and Duds, this is actually my longest standing series, going back to when this channel first began as a Madden channel, where I use my ratings changes for my own custom Madden roster to discuss the rising and falling players around the NFL. And to this day, this system hasn't changed for me, as it's a great way to hit on how all of these players are performing on the field, for better or worse. So please, sit down, buckle up, and enjoy, as we've got a lot of players to talk about here today. Welcome in, everybody, to the AFC East episode of Studs and Duds. This is a much anticipated one, mostly with the ascension of Drake May this year. We get to really highlight that, but also, hey, Dolphins, Jets fans, teams that can get glossed over at times, get some thorough analysis here today. So should be a fun one. Just a quick kind of series update here, just where we're at with posting these videos. I'm really putting my head down to get 3 more of these done this week, and then probably going to have one leaking into early next week. Ideally would be Monday. It wasn't my intention for this to take up 3 weeks in the middle of the season. It is a reflection of really how much time goes into this series. It is a passion project for the channel diehards and the NFL diehards out there for sure. But I've just had a lot going on, family stuff, a lot of weddings, everything's good stuff. But it's taken up a lot of extra days here to crank this series out. So thank you for your patience as we get the rest of these episodes out. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the AFC East Studs and Duds. So we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills, and for their Midseason Super Stud Award winner, Joey Bosa. What a signing this has been for the Bills. And I wasn't sure if this was going to work out, man, because the last 3 years of Joey Bosa, it's just been more of an idea than anything, and that's why he was available on a cheap 1-year prove-it deal here. But the Bills said, hey, we've been looking for that difference-making pass rusher for as long as we can remember, certainly from me sitting at my desk, as long as I can remember, and Joey Bosa has finally given them a player that can produce at the production level of a legitimate #1 elite edge rusher. Joey Bosa, by the tape, looks incredible. He looks twitched up. He looks healthy. He's got that power rush. He's breaking out some various finesse style moves. He's always been this crafty pass rusher, but he just hasn't had the physical tools to complement it and get that production. And we're really seeing the best of Joey Bosa right now. Like, rewind the clock to when he was in his prime. He looks like that Joey Bosa. The pressure rate matches that. He's up to a 15% pressure rate, which is outstanding. And most notably, I think, he was able to step up in that big win against the Kansas City Chiefs. I know the Bills have had some roller coaster moments this year, especially most recently losing to the Dolphins. But the main point of this signing was to knock off the boogeyman and to be able to put that pressure on Patrick Mahomes that they just haven't been able to manufacture in that matchup. Hopefully, they can keep Joey Bosa in bubble wrap, keep him healthy, and get this version of him when it really matters in January. But it is, at the end of the day, just really fun to see Joey Bosa back at it, because when he is healthy and at the peak of his powers, I mean, he's teach tape for young pass rushers out there, to say the least. So it's a +5 in the ratings for Joey Bosa, 81 to an 86 as he creeps back towards what he maybe once was years and years ago. But let's flip the page over to the offense here and give some love to James Cook, who's going to get a +3 up to an 88, approaching top 5/1 of the best running back rankings in the league. I mean, how incredible has James Cook been on this Bills team? I had no idea this version of him was even remotely possible when they spent that late second-round pick on him. You know, I like the juice. I like the potential for him, frankly, as a pass catcher in this offense. He hasn't even done that much catching passes. He's just been their lead running back. But, you know, I thought the idea was to find some juice and kind of a gadget player. No, far from it. I mean, he's really been more like his brother than I ever expected, honestly, as just a guy that can tote the rock inside, outside the tackles. The way his vision has developed, it wasn't great at Georgia. It really wasn't. But the way it's developed so that he can run every run concept and run it efficiently, on top of just running hard, breaking tackles. Even though he's not the biggest back, I mean, he does have contact balance. He can fight for tough yards. And right now, James Cook is third in the NFL in missed tackles forced. He's tied for second in yards per attempt, and he's second in yards as well. He's got 920 yards on the year. He's already at 1,000 scrimmage yards. I mean, he might have a 2,000 scrimmage yards season if they decide to use him in the receiving game a little bit more. Just 19 targets on the season. I continue to question if there's more to be unlocked there, just schematically speaking with the Bills. But yeah, James Cook is phenomenal, deserves even more love here in this video. But then the heavy personnel guys for the Buffalo Bills. This has really been the main narrative for the Bills, is this heavy package offense that they've gotten into. It's been a lot of Reggie Gilliam here. He's getting a +5, and then all three tight ends going up here. I'm just going to reveal them all on the screen here right now. But Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox going up 2 each. And then the rookie, Jackson Hawes, +6 up to a 74. So a ton of love for all of these blocking specialists plus receivers. You know what I'm saying? The big personnel guys. So Reggie Gilliam getting a ton of love. Maybe has been the best blocking fullback in the NFL this year. He has really popped with how he's developed and stepped up within the structure of this style of system where they do want to just load up, I'll continue to say, heavy personnel, smash you in the face, and obviously having a fullback is going to be a part of that in a lot of these 12 personnel, 22 personnel types of packages. He's really come along and emerged as one of the true better fullbacks in the league. Once upon a time, I know Reggie Gilliam was a fan of the channel, used the roster. So Reggie, if you're watching, what's up? Shout out. But then we've got Dalton Kincaid. He's doing his job as a blocker on the wing and as a slot wide receiver as well. We've obviously kind of had this little segment as a focus on the blocking aspect of things. But Dalton Kincaid has absolutely stepped up as the receiving threat they could have hoped him to be this season. It's been a slow and even frustrating start to the former first-round pick's career, honestly. But Kincaid has really come along. He missed a game, but he's basically on pace for a 1,000-yard season to be one of the top receiving tight ends in the league. He's winning tough catches. He's really being a mismatch problem over the middle of the field, especially when you're able to come out in these heavy packages, force defenses into base personnel, where you can suck these linebackers in on play action, and then Kincaid is able to attack, more run defense oriented personnel against the defense. So he's really stepping up through this offense. Dawson Knox is having a really good year as well. He's had some frustrating years himself since they drafted Dalton Kincaid. I don't know if he got in his head a little bit or what, but with them really asking a lot out of these guys as blockers, especially guys like Knox and Hawes and Gilliam, Knox has fit the bill. Pun unintended on that one, but he has probably had his best, most notable year as a run blocker, as we've seen the success of this run game. And I think it's, he's maybe got a little bit of a fire lit under his ass, right? He's gotten a lot of the receiving stuff taken away from him with Kincaid. They've got this rookie coming in here in Jackson Hawes, who we're going to talk about, who's, again, we'll talk about him, but holy crap, he is coming for Dawson Knox's job as tight end too, I'll say that. So credit to Dawson Knox. He has stepped it up and played some of his best ball, especially from the blocking angle, but he's made a few catches as well. Though I will say, he continues to be a guy that has some frustrating drops and doesn't have the best ball skills overall. So I'm not here really to praise him too much for the receiving side of things, but the run blocking has definitely essentially allowed him to stay on the field because Jackson Hawes has been so incredible. Just generally speaking, Jackson Hawes has been really good, but especially for a rookie tight end to step in and be one of the best run blocking tight ends in football, it's just so respectable. And he's very quickly become one of my favorite, just kind of under the radar players in the league. And I loved him in this draft as well. I had a 3rd round grade on Jackson Hawes. I said he was the best blocking tight end prospect I've ever seen. And for him to step in and that to translate right away is really fun to see. But what's interesting with Hawes is not only is he, a fully built tight end that's an extension of the offensive line that just, his passion is blocking. Like, you can just tell from the tape, this dude wants to get into the mud and drag defensive linemen down the field. But he's also been that sneaky weapon as a pass catcher, not as a mismatch problem or being, this headache for defenses necessarily, but essentially because he is a sixth offensive lineman, he's able to get lost on play action, sneak up the middle of the field. And just like he did at Georgia Tech, when they did throw him the football, outside of some frustrating drops, and Haas does have a drop this year on his just 11 targets, but on the passes that he has caught, he's shown some run after catch energy. He even had a really nice contested catch up the seam one week. Like, he's showing that he's more than just a blocker. He is a blocker first. The fact that he can also catch passes, and he's got so much play strength down the field that he can weaponize to a degree as a receiver. He's a really nice find for the Buffalo Bills, and I really do think it's not just Jackson Haas. We've seen it around the league, this increase in 12 personnel, 13 personnel. The days of a blocking tight end prospect of this caliber falling to the 5th round, I would be stunned if we see this again. I was stunned when we saw it this time, but the fact that the league is now trending in this direction towards really valuing a guy like Jackson Haas, the fact that the Bills were ahead of the curve on that, I know this front office hasn't always been perfect, but that's great foresight by this front office, Joe Brady and company here. Now, with the wide receivers, really not a whole lot of praise to go around. Frankly, the passing offense has struggled when they're not within that game script that they like to live with the heavy personnel in the run game. A little bit of love here for Tyrell Shavers. He's getting a +2 up to a 67. He's playing. He's made a few catches. That's really all I have to add there. I want to see more from these playmakers. Keon Coleman especially. Not that he's been bad, but I want to see him get more involved, convert some more contested catch opportunities. Just a little bit of a note there. But one more player with the offense is going up is David Edwards. He's been a really nice find off the free agent block a couple years ago. He has fully emerged, again, as a starting caliber guard. He's had a roller coaster career because he started as a nice young player on the Rams, completely fell off, was available for nothing for the Bills, and they've kind of rehabilitated his career a little bit here. So he's up to a 75. And then just one last note offensively, Josh Allen. I don't have it in my heart to lower Josh Allen, but he's not playing his best football, especially the last month or so. Just hasn't been quite as surgical. There's a little bit something missing with this passing game. I don't, again, I'm not ready to say it's Josh Allen's fault necessarily, but want to see him pick up his efficiency to maintain the incredibly high rating we obviously have on Josh Allen. But let's talk some defense here for the Bills. It's some good and certainly some bad. I think when you look at this Bills season, generally speaking, it's been positives with their front and then negatives with the linebackers in the secondary, and that's largely going to be reflected here today. We already talked about Joey Bosa, of course, but A.J. Epinesa has really stepped up and had a nice year. We praised Joey Bosa for being at a 15% pressure rate, and that is, again, really good, but A.J. Epinesa is at a 21% pressure rate. He has 21 pressures this year on just 106 pass rush snaps. He's got several sacks. He had a really impressive interception as well in the Panthers game, just leaping up, picking off a little swing pass. It really has been a career year for Epinesa, who's on pace for certainly the best year of his career in terms of pressures. I mean, he's almost at his career high in pressures, and he's played about 33% of the snaps that he had in 2023. So yeah, he's really producing in the legendary contract year. It's a +2 in the ratings for Epinesa, up to a 75. We'll see if he can keep this up or if it's more of a flash in the pan. But if he does, he will be looking at a pretty nice payday there at age 27. He was young when he came into the league, and who knows? Maybe he's figuring something out. Maybe Joey Bosa, another bigger-bodied edge rusher, teaching him a thing or two in that building. You're seeing some added benefits from the Joey Bosa addition potentially there. But then another guy on the defensive line sliding more to the interior, Deone Walker has really made some splashes, and it's fun to see. I mean, he was such a unique prospect, so much that I just compared him to a dancing bear coming out of Kentucky. And ironically, I don't know if Reggie Gilliam told Ed Oliver about the channel, but Ed Oliver said the same thing like 2 months later when he saw him in training camp. But I think you felt that. I mean, he's got this unique slipperiness to kind of sneak into the backfield as this giant defensive tackle. He's even kind of like he did in college, shown flashes of being able to, sink those hips and two gap a little bit as that big defensive tackle. It certainly hasn't all been consistent for him. It's just a +3 up to a 71. But the fact that he's showing that he can win at the NFL level with his unique skill set is extremely encouraging. He's got 13 pressures this year as a pass rusher, where I think he's been at his best. That's a 10% pressure rate, which is really good for an interior defensive lineman. So he's definitely showing up, especially as a 4th-round draft pick, an outlier prospect nobody really wanted to take a gamble on. It looks like they might have someone that can at least be a splash play defender, if not continue to develop into more of a starting caliber guy. So I'm excited to continue to track Deone Walker. But then let's go to the second level with these linebackers. I'm going to raise Shaq Thompson. It's been fun to see him healthy and flying around, kind of looking like the old Shaq Thompson. He had definitely had a falling out in the ratings after injury-ridden seasons. Just hadn't quite played up to his normal standards, but he does look relatively back. He has unfortunately gotten banged up again, so it's probably unrealistic to talk about Shaq Thompson as someone that can hold up getting a full snap count as a linebacker, but hopefully he can get back out there healthy, and maybe he could be like a dime linebacker or a third downs role linebacker for somebody, because he definitely still has some juice as that former kind of hybrid safety coming out of Washington that he was 10 years ago. But like I said, there's been some negative with this defense, and these veteran linebackers have really been a disappointment, and the core reason, in my opinion, for the Bills' struggles defensively this year when they have struggled. Matt Milano, this really pains me to say. I wonder if it needs to be done for Matt Milano. He's just 30 years old, going on 31, but this dude's body has taken a beating throughout his career. He has dealt with a lot of injuries, and it feels like that's maybe stacking up. He just has, not only has he been, not been an impact player, basically, but he's been a liability for this defense. He's struggling to scrape over the top against the run and get himself into position. And what's really notable is that he seems to have slowed down in coverage. That's where I'm a little bit slower to write off Matt Milano, because he's always been one of the best coverage linebackers in the game. But teams have really been able to attack him into his zone responsibilities, and he has no passes defended on the season. So it's a -4 for Matt Milano, and honestly, a 78 still feels super high. He's just one of these weird players where it's like, it's the injuries that make it really hard to put a rating on Matt Milano. The last 3 years, he played 200 snaps in 23. He played 300 snaps last year, and even this year, he's only played 176 snaps. It's about 3.5 games worth of snaps. So it's like smaller sample size, but I think he's in a contract year as well. I feel like we might be headed towards, God, I hate to say retirement, but it just feels like it's kind of over with Matt Milano. And then Terrell Bernard. This is someone that I have had it at with Bills fans throughout the years. I'm wondering if Bills fans are with me at this point. I mean, he has had definitely his worst year on his career at this point. Missed tackle percentage up to 18% this year. The coverage has been a big issue for him. He's had some real stinker games against the run. Week 1 against Baltimore was hard to watch. This last week against the Dolphins, he was a big problem. Couldn't get in the way of that Dolphins offense and that big upset for the Dolphins. So, I'm curious if Bills fans are with me now in that Terrell Bernard is one of the more overrated players in the entire National Football League. I was encouraged to see that the Bills didn't fully blow out to extend him. I think it was $10 million a year. I was still it's still a lot for for Terrell Bernard, but he's not that bad of a player that's going to set the Bills back. Well, I mean, he's got to play better than he's playing this year. I'll say that. Otherwise, that is a horrible looking contract. It's just a -1. I think he can bounce back. I understand Bills fans are infatuated with this player. I think it's because Sean McDermott is infatuated with this player. I don't fully understand why. I feel like they have 2 or 3 other linebackers on the team that are better than Terrell Bernard. But yeah, I'm curious to hear from Bills fans on that one. But then you go into the secondary. A little bit of love for the rookie, Maxwell Harrison. He just got back into the lineup after missing the start to the season injured, the first-round pick for the Bills this year. But yeah, he's had some pretty good moments. He did have a tough time with Jalen Waddle. It hasn't all been perfect. Rookie corners, it's a grind, man. You're going to have to take some losses that you're not used to taking in college and bounce back and have a short memory. But he does have a couple interceptions already on the year. And I would say outside of that challenging assignment against Jalen Waddle, he has really looked the part. So it's a +2 for Harrison from a 70 to a 72. But the veteran corners here, it's not just the linebackers. These signature DBs for the Bills have not been as good either. Both Christian Benford, who's frankly really struggling this year, he's going to get a -1. 82 to an 81, nothing too crazy here. I do think he can bounce back. It's a volatile position, but he's definitely playing the worst ball of his entire career. No passes defended this year. That's what most stands out to me. He's been someone that's been really good at disrupting passes. He's been near double-digit passes defended the last 2 years that got him paid. This year, no passes defended on 33 targets. 64% reception percentage allowed is not ideal, even though they do play that zone style where you're going to get some of those easy completions allowed against you. And his missed tackle rate has skyrocketed. This has been I don't want to say the selling point on Christian Benford, but the fact that he has only missed 3 tackles in the last 2 years combined. I cannot stress how rare that is for an outside corner. He's already missed 4 this season. His missed tackle rate's up to 11% after being under 3% the last 2 years. So there's just been some criticisms of Benford. I still respect his game. I think it's probably just a bad run for him, and he will bounce back. But it's something we're going to have to monitor. If he keeps playing like this, he's going to have to go down much further at the postseason studs and duds. And might be a contract we need to have some conversations about if he keeps playing this poorly. And then Taron Johnson, this is another guy kind of like Matt Milano, where it's like he's just had so many injuries. It's tough to take that big of a beating and keep playing into your late 20s, especially as a DB in the NFL. But he's at a career high in missed tackle percentage, which is really not what you want from a slot corner. And that's been, again, a selling point on him, is the tackling from him. When I do praise the Bills' defense, which isn't terribly often, a lot of times it's praising how good their efforts and their tackling consistency is from the back end. Not getting that from Taron Johnson and Christian Benford this year. You've certainly felt that, especially in their run defense that is one of the worst in the entire league. From a pass defense perspective, he's in a challenging position in that slot corner. He's inevitably going to give up some receptions. I don't have as much to be critical of him there. He certainly hasn't been the sticky cover corner that he was maybe 2 years ago. But it's a -1 for Taron Johnson as well, and it's possible that this isn't far enough for Johnson. He's another key player to monitor here in the second half. If he can get healthy, he's been a little bit banged up this year as well, but if he can get healthy and finish strong, that would be a big deal for this Bills defense that leans into Taron Johnson big time, or big deal in the opposite direction where they continue to have the struggles that they've had this year. But we do have a little bit more positive on the back end. One DB that's really stepped up this year and developed nicely is Cole Bishop. And I'm really excited to see this because I really, really liked Bishop coming out of Utah. I thought this was a bit of a steal, frankly. If not a steal, a really good value at the end of the second round. Someone that reminded me a lot of a young Micah Hyde, and he played slot corner at Utah, so he had to transition to real safety responsibilities for the Bills. He ended up having to take a back seat with this defense after he showed in his rookie year he just wasn't ready. But he's bunkered down and figured it out. The coverage has been really good. He's got 6 passes defended already this season, which is excellent for a safety. And the run defense has been really much improved. He's improved the angles that he's taking. He's been a more consistent tackler. It's a +5 here for Cole Bishop, a 68 to a 73. Really the lone true bright spot, at least for the course of the season. It's been good to see Maxwell Harrison get out there in recent weeks, but from start to finish, Cole Bishop's been just about the only consistent bright spot outside of the defensive line for this unit. And then another player going down is Taylor Rapp. Now, he went down with an injury. I don't even know if he's going to get back this year, but I've never been the biggest Taylor Rapp fan. He's so slow, and you've felt that on some big plays allowed this year. You see him try to take the right angle, and it's like, man, like I talk a lot about how you don't have to be super fast as a safety. Like, I've defended a lot of guys that run low 4.5s, like 4.58 type of range. There's kind of a point of no return, though, in my opinion. If you're talking about someone that has genuine 4.7 speed out there, and not to obsess about 40 time, but when it's that drastic on the back end, that lack of speed can really be exposed. And you've seen that with Taylor Rapp this year in coverage and in run defense, just not able to get into position. And because he's out of position, he has taken a complete U-turn this year in regards to his missed tackle rate. That's the one thing I've applauded Taylor Rapp for, and that's kind of why he went up last year as he was starting, is he only missed 3 tackles last year, a 3.6% missed tackle rate, and was really good the year before that in Buffalo. Well, this year, and he's missed some time. He's missed a few games. He's already missed 8 this season. He hasn't missed 8 tackles in his 2 years combined as a Bill. He'd only missed 5. So it's just like, holy hell, this has been a brutal season for Taylor Rapp. Hopefully it's just a bad run of games. I still feel like he is what he is. I still think he can be a player as like a dime back. Like, if you want to use him on third downs, patrolling the middle of the field and lurk a little bit, like, he's got some instincts and can clean up screens and draws and that kind of stuff. But as a starting deep safety, we've seen a screeching halt to his practicality as a starter in this defense this year. So it's a -2 for Taylor Rapp. And there are your Buffalo Bills. So let's now go down to Miami and talk about the Dolphins. And for their midseason super stud, I'm going to give Jordan Brooks the credit that he deserves. This is a guy that I've been kind of lukewarm on just because his coverage abilities over the years have just been very middle of the road. He's a guy that as a premium run defender, or someone that is discussed as a premium run defender in the league, he's missed a ton of tackles throughout the years. So I've kind of gone back and forth over the years with Dolphins fans last year and Seahawks fans before that, where I'm like, well, he's a below average coverage defender. He is a good run defender, but if that's your bread and butter and your missed tackle rate is like 12%, which is what it had been over the last 3 years, it just takes a little bit off of the idea that you are this great run defender. Well, this year, he has really cleaned that up. I mentioned 12% has been his missed tackle rate from 2022 through 2024. He's got it down to 4.6% right now, which is excellent. He's had some dominant performances against the run. I think he's really seeing things well. He's always seen things well, but I think that Rolodex of information just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's not a run concept that he can't diagnose like that at this stage in his career, so you're seeing the trigger be even quicker, and I think we saw signs of that last year as well. But right now, Brooks leads the NFL in defensive stops. He is flying over the field. I'm sure he's up there in tackles as well. I don't really look at tackle numbers for linebackers, but we'll give him credit for that. And then just watch him against the Bills, dude. Like, he was insane in that upset effort for this team, a team that we expected to kind of run all over the Dolphins. Jordan Brooks, along with several of his teammates, stepped up and said, no, we're not having it this week. So a lot of credit to Brooks. I think it's much more, with how he's playing this year, I think it's much more reasonable if you want to say he's a top 10 linebacker in the NFL. I think he's reached that point. So it's a +3 here in the ratings for Brooks as the super stud midseason award winner for this Dolphins team. And it's good to see someone bring some toughness and tenacity to the locker room as well. So that signing has really worked out for them. But let's talk some offense here for Miami. I am going to lower Tua. I mean, Tua turn the ball over has been a meme for a long time. This year, like, for the people that do betting props and stuff, that's been like the lock of the week. Just take Tua to throw an interception. There's only been 3 games this year where he didn't throw a pick. And he does lead the NFL in turnover-worthy plays this season. You've also seen some missed throws in there. over the middle of the field on those out routes. He just hasn't been. I mean, I've always thought his accuracy in terms of consistent ball placement has always been overrated, but it's shown up a lot this year. Like he can throw really beautiful touch passes, and that type of stuff, but he's been spraying throws. It feels like Tua is in this weird place where he's not a franchise quarterback. He's getting paid like one. And if you were to, like, let's say Miami moves on from him, like, do you want to sign the guy that if he does unfortunately deal with another concussion, like he has to hang it up? I mean, he's in this really weird place in his career right now. I'll give him some credit and say if we did this episode 3 weeks ago, this would have been an even steeper fall. I think he's settled in and played better over the last 3 weeks. So maybe he's turning a corner and can get these ratings points back when we revisit the Dolphins at the end of the season. But it overall has been a pretty horrible season for Tua. But Devon Achane continues to climb. He gets a +2 here, up to an 86. The dude is just so good. Some might look at that 86 rating and say that's not enough. I hear you. I do still think like the system he's in is so perfect for his skill set. The way that they have crafted this entire run game out of just getting to the perimeter, these toss crack runs, these quick passes to the flat. Like they leaned into Achane as well as any offense in the entire league could even conceive. So I do think he benefits from that. If we're talking about building out a player rating system, like he has his deficiencies in terms of size and between the tackles ability. Not that he's bad between the tackles, but if you're talking about wanting him to be like one of the best running backs in the league, I wouldn't say Achane is like the best between the tackles runner or top 5 in that category. Not that he's bad at it, but he is just so incredibly explosive. And he is, once he gets moving, able to break tackles and show an element of power that is underrated for a smaller back. So I don't want to take that away from him either. So he gets a little love. And then the other running back that was brought in here to be a little bit more of the hammer, because that is a deficiency in Devon Achane's skill set, Ollie Gordon, the rookie. He's looked the part. He's looked, I don't want to say like sophomore year Ollie Gordon, but when you go back to Oklahoma State, I mean, he was one of these way too early first round mock draft hype guys, if you will, and then just had a horrible final season and kind of looked slow and rigid. And I do think he's stiff, doesn't have the best change of direction, and he is severely limited in the complete opposite aspects of where Devon Achane is so good. So it makes them a good complement for sure. But yeah, Gordon's had some really tough runs, converting some short yardage situations. Only has 1 touchdown on the season. I do think that will come up as the year goes on. But yeah, he's been what they were looking for as that day 3 draft pick. So it's a +4 for Gordon, up to a 71. And then Jalen Waddle, I almost thought about making him the super stud for the Dolphins, because I think this is the biggest deal for Miami is to see Jalen Waddle really lock in with that, really since that Tyreek Hill injury, lock in and be this team's true number 1 wide receiver, in the sense that you can feel good about heading into next year with him as your number 1. And maybe some Dolphins fans will say that was always going to be the case. I disagree. I think the drops he's had and the lack of consistent ball skills has been a shortcoming in Jalen Waddle's game since he came into the league. He's obviously ridiculously explosive. He's a major weapon for this team. But from a reliability standpoint, again, there's been some shortcomings. But this year, he has dropped just 1 pass. Knock on wood that he keeps that up. That's insane when you look back on his previous seasons, where he's been about a career 9% drop rate guy. He's at 2% this year, and that's being this team's number 1 target, seeing a volume share in the last few weeks that you're not used to seeing with him. So he has held up in that ask, if you will. But on top of that, he's also converting 62% of his contested catch opportunities, and he's gotten 16 of those looks. So he's 10 for 16 on tough physical catches. He looks awesome. So it's really good to see him here in year 5. They're already paying him and all that. That's great. But, obviously the Tyreek Hill injury happens. You're kind of looking forward at Jalen Waddle probably having to be this team's number 1. It's really good to head into next season with the confidence of we have a true number one, as opposed to like if Jalen Waddle continued to play like he had in previous seasons, you're like, well, we really like him, but is he a true one? Or is he just this really fast guy that has to be our one? Well, right now it's the former. And then also got to give Darren Waller a ton of love. He was another great candidate for super stud. Unfortunately, he's just the injuries, man. Like, I just don't know from an availability standpoint how big of a deal this is going to be if he even continues to play after this year. But it has been fun to see that when he was out there, he still has it. And I'm surprised by that. I figured with the rap career, he was going to come in. I honestly expected to see him look a lot thinner. And I don't want to say out of shape, but, you know, he's been a full-size tight end going back to his time with the Raiders. And I honestly figured he wasn't going to be as built, looking like that god of an NFL player with his time off. He has looked like old Darren Waller. He's made tough catches. He's been a mismatch problem. It's a bummer he got hurt because I kind of mocked this signing, but no, like that was a great move to take a flyer on him. Even if they only got a couple games out of it, it was already worth it. But then Greg Dulcich as well. He seems to be settling in a little bit. He's really had his struggles as a tight end prospect that was really hyped up because of his 40 time. Has had some of the worst ball skills of any NFL player, in the league since Greg Dulcich entered it. But 8 targets this year. He's got 71 yards. Had a good night Thursday Night Football against Miami. Some explosive plays. Good to see that. 22-yard catch against Buffalo this last week, and he hasn't dropped any of those targets. So we'll see where this goes. It's just a +2 from a 65 to a 67, but always good to see some guys with talent maybe figuring things out later on. And he is only 25 and a half years old, despite being in the league for 4 years. Was a younger third-round pick that was maybe just not ready when Denver drafted him. But on the offensive line, some good, some bad. Patrick Paul, effectively his rookie season, second-round pick last year. He's been getting his playing time this year, and he's held up. He's had some sloppier losses that have stood out in pass pro, and it's hard in this system. It's really hard to truly evaluate offensive linemen. It's more unique than anything around the league. Like, he's only allowed 12 pressures this year, which is really good, but because of how their offense operates, where it's so many quick swing passes, and to Tua's credit, that ball does get out so quickly. They've crafted this offense around the idea of protecting offensive linemen. So it's not to take anything away from Patrick Paul. It's just there's not as many true dropbacks to get that read on Patrick Paul. I think some Dolphins fans might look at this rating that's only at a 69 and say he's actually been even better than that. I hear what you're saying. I'm just explaining from my perspective, like, of the 12 pressures he has allowed, a serious disproportionate amount of those have come on the true pass sets that he has seen. He's only seen 126 true pass sets because you only get 10 to 15 of those a game inside this offense. And he is allowing 10 pressures on those 126 true pass sets this season. So, that's where I really want to continue to evaluate him. But I loved how they're tapping into his athleticism in the run game, especially in recent weeks. It feels like he's really figuring out his targeting system. He's got a ton of potential. He's this athletic 6'7" guy that played at Houston. Like, it's there's a lot there to like. I just need to see a little bit more before we can really crown him as like the franchise tackle or the certified starting caliber guy for them. But second round pick that certainly hasn't been a disappointment this year. It's been a lot of green lights for Patrick Paul, which is really good news. And then at right tackle, Larry Borum's had to start for this team. It hasn't always been great. He's a backup swing tackle for a reason, but he's held up in this system. They're leaning into his athleticism as well. So he's getting a +2 up to a 68. Now, as we look at the interior, unfortunately, a young offensive lineman this team drafted is not going well, a second-round pick as well. Jonas Avenia. I mean, considering they traded, I think, they utilized 3 highest draft picks to move up and get him. Factoring that in, this is looking like one of the worst early returns on draft picks this year. There's still a lot of potential there. Reminds me, honestly, a lot of Kingsley Suamataia for the Chiefs last year, where he was unplayable in his first season, but had all the tools, was a young guy, and figured it out in year 2. Hopefully that can be the case with Jonah Savaiinaea, but right now it's been a historically bad year for Jonah Savaiinaea. He's already allowed 29 pressures on the season. That leads all guards. And again, the fact that that's happening in this offense where the ball does get out so quickly, it's impressive in a bad way. And I don't love to regurgitate PFF grades in this series. I've said that before. It's a controversial subject in general. I have always said the O-line grades, the pass rush grades are their most stable, dependable grades that they do offer. But when I do refer to PFF grades in this series, usually it's extremely bad or you're doing extremely well in the grading. Those high ends of the variance, I think there's a lot to it if you're grading out to that extent. But Savaiinaea on the season has a 7.8 pass blocking grade. And he has registered 2 games with a 0. That means there's not a single positive snap on the entire game. It's unbelievable how bad he's been. And he's missing a bunch of assignments in the run game, too, that are dragging down his run blocking grade down to a 39.7. So his overall PFF grade is a 28.1 this season. It's remarkable. Now, they're going to continue playing him because they invested in him. He needs those reps. Hopefully, it can come along. He's down to a 64 rating, really off of his athletic measurables and play strength alone. From an awareness and technique standpoint, he has everywhere to go. He's been a huge, huge problem, and I know we lowered Tua, and I think that's fair, but basically anytime they get into a true drop-back situation, if you're able to isolate Jonah Savaiinaea one-on-one, you're going right through him. So it's been really bad. But Aaron Brewer, the center, he's a huge riser on this season, +4. And honestly, a big reason for this is he's finally getting listed north of 290 pounds. One of my big hesitancies with him is he's been playing, or at least has been listed at, but I think he has actually been playing at about 275 pounds, which it's like, it shows up in his anchor and pass pro. And when they do run some gap stuff, you feel some of that lack of play strength in the run game going back. But now that he's supposedly bulked up, maybe it's been a steady process to get him up to that point, and now they're just finally listing him there, but it's leading to results. He's having a career year in terms of pass protection. You haven't felt him as much of an issue getting driven back in pass pro. It's not all perfect for him, but it's been better, and that's with Savaiinaea next to him, so that's saying a lot. But as a run blocker, I mean, he is so fun to watch, dude. I think I caught a clip of Brandon Thorne, who does excellent offensive line analysis with his website, Trench Warfare. I think I caught a clip of him on Twitter saying that he reminds him of Jason Kelce a good bit with the way he's weaponized on the move with his athleticism. And I know it's high praise, but I couldn't agree more. I mean, this dude has an incredible targeting system. He's an undrafted player coming into the league, undersized, small school guy. He plays every snap like it's his last. He's one of the more fun players to watch on this entire Dolphins team. And honestly, it kind of stinks that like Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum are in the AFC, because I think Aaron Brewer is playing at a Pro Bowl level. If he were in the NFC, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head. And even Zach Frazier's a guy that's going to get a lot of love moving forward. If Brewer was in the NFC, I'm probably forgetting some players, but like McCoy's been hurt. There's a case that if Brewer was in the NFC, he might be the best center in that conference. Dahlman's playing well for Chicago. I'm probably forgetting some guys, but I don't think it's crazy to say that. So it's a +4 for Brewer. Really taking a big leap this year, and wouldn't be surprised if he gets another +4 if he kind of sustains the success he's having this year once we get to the end of the year. But let's flip over and talk about the defense for Miami. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans, we have to talk about this defense. Hey, they're coming off a good week. At least there's that. But there's a couple players going down, and unfortunately, it's not the guys you really want to see. If you want to see anybody going down, you want it to be like regressing vets. It's the opposite with the Dolphins. It's their 2 first-round draft pick investments from the last 2 years. Chop Robinson last year was really quiet to start the year and then was one of the better pass rushers in the entire league in the second half of the year. He's been much closer to that first half of the year. Chop Robinson just hasn't been able to get after the quarterback. And that's what he's brought in here to do because he's not a good run defender. He continues to struggle in that phase. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, we're talking about a pressure a game right now for Chop. He's had a couple better games lately, especially against Atlanta. Hopefully he can click things back into gear. It's just a -1. I really did like the tape from Chop in his rookie season last year, so I know it's in there. But he's got to come down, and if he doesn't turn it around, it's going to be a very steep fall for the postseason, studs and duds. And then Kenneth Grant, their first-round pick this year, 13th overall pick, came in rated as a 72, and he's just not playing up to your expectations at that mark. I think the fears of him as a prospect so far have come true. He was someone that is built like a German-engineered nose tackle, athletic, 335-pound guy, but he plays like a 300-pound speed-rushing, pass-down specialist. And at least early in the year, those concerns really showed up. I mean, he was getting gashed against the run, not really making an impact as a pass rusher, maybe one splash win every week or two. I will say this. Recent weeks have been better for Kenneth Grant. Hopefully there's been a little bit of realization for him that he can't get away with what, the technique he played with at Michigan at the NFL level. You're seeing the run stops come up. You're seeing a little bit improvement in terms of how much he's getting driven back and all that. So, maybe this would have been a -2 if he wasn't playing a little bit better as of late, but I do still think he has to come down for his play on the season, and hopefully that's the only time he comes down and he's going to start heading in the right direction. But one of the rookies is playing well. It's Jordan Phillips. Phillips was a 5th-round pick, really a stout, stocky run defender coming out, never really projected to give you much as a pass rusher, and that profile has absolutely translated. He has played up to the scouting report. I did think he was a value in the 5th round, and he's eaten up some good run defense snaps and also playing better as of late. So it's good to see him making an impact out the gate. And then I do have a note on Zach Sealer. He just hasn't been good this year. I don't really know how else to say it. You just really haven't felt his ability to get after the quarterback much at all, whereas last year and the year before that, he's really been an impact rusher for them. So it's just kind of putting him on the radar. He's got to play better. We know he's capable of it, but he is 30 years old, so it's possible that he needs to come down when we come back to this at the end of the year. But then as we go to the second level, we talked about Jordan Brooks, but the guy next to him, Tyrell Dotson's showing up. He's kind of just an overall inconsistent player. Feels like 1 week coverage is an issue, 1 week missed tackles are an issue, the next week his run diagnostics aren't the best. So he's not the perfect player, but he's generally speaking playing pretty well. He's sticking his head in there against the run, and he's been just fine. So it's a +1 for him up to a 74. And then into the secondary, these guys have really struggled this year, but for what it's worth, that was expected. And all these guys, there's not really any room to go down because most of these players in the secondary are rated already about as low as it goes. But Rasul Douglas has actually quietly been okay with this team. He's a good fit for a zone-heavy system like this, and he's got 3 pass breakups on the year. He's only allowing a 57% reception percentage into his area, and for a zone-heavy defense, that's actually really good. He's contributing, stepping up against the run. He's looking closer to the old Rasul Douglas that we saw in Green Bay than the version of him that we saw in Buffalo that was horrible last year. So it's a +2 for Douglas. Good to see that. Much needed for the Dolphins. It's looking like a good pickup for them. And then another note on another young corner that they picked up, Juju Brents, who they picked up from Indianapolis. I was surprised the Colts just outright released Juju Brents. He's been injured for so much of his time, and we'll see if he can stay durable here in Miami. But you go back to 2023, his rookie season, he showed a lot of flashes as a rookie, and he got the Week 10 start against Buffalo and really stepped it up. Had a nice pass breakup in there, was targeted 5 times. They went at him, and he only allowed 2 receptions for 12 yards. It's really freaking good. So he still has like a relatively respectable 70 rating considering how little he's played in his career, but he's a very fascinating player. And if you're a Dolphins fan, you're really hoping he can stay healthy. And for a team that desperately needs corners, he's got potential to have a later career breakout here and maybe be viewed as more of a starting caliber player for you. So I had a big note on him, but then one last player here, Dante Trader Jr. He's a day 3 pick that's been playing a ton of safety for them. He's horrible in coverage, and he was in college, so I don't really see this going too far. With Dante Trader, he feels like a Band-Aid day 3 safety to plug in there, but he is playing the run hard. I'll give him that. He's missing 17.5% of his tackles, but he is flying around trying his best. He gets a +2 up to a 67. And it's a bit of a theme here with Miami before we go to our next team, that for all of the, Mike McDaniel can't build a culture, the Dolphins are soft, you got to fire McDaniel. It's like, that the idea is, oh, he's a schemer, but the team doesn't want to play for him. The Dolphins have the 6th ranked run defense this year. A whole bunch of these guys are giving it their effort. I don't know if toughness has been the issue for the Dolphins this year. There's talent deficiencies, but they've had some impressive comeback moments. I know this is a player series, not a coaching series, but there's been a lot of Mike McDaniel hot seat talk. And I think when you look at this series, you can see maybe the criticisms that this team is too soft maybe are misguided right now. I think they're at least making steps in the direction to be a more physically minded team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But with that said, let's go to the New York Jets, our next team here. Actually, a ton of players to talk about here, which isn't a huge surprise for such a new regime like this with so many moving pieces. But for the Jets, we'll start with their super stud. It is their first round pick, Armin Membu, who gets a +5 up to a 77 rating, already looking like a franchise right tackle. Everything you could have hoped for where you draft this player, what you expect from him at that position, and the run blocking really from the get-go. He's been awesome. And honestly, I think you're seeing a lot of technical improvements from him. Just as such a young player coming out of Missouri, I really liked him. I loved this pick. There were a lot of things to clean up, though, with his footwork and his hand placement, especially in the run game. He fell off a lot of blocks that I didn't want to see him fall off of. And there's been a little bit of that, but not as much, honestly, as I think you could have expected. He's just been stout across the board. Yes, as a run blocker, but as a pass blocker, he's held his own. He's taken a couple rookie losses, but overall, I mean, the sky's already the limit for this guy. I think it was reasonable to expect some more road bumps, though, given his profile coming out, and it just hasn't been the case. I think we're really talking about a freak athlete that's taking to NFL coaching and really has been a slam dunk draft pick for the Jets, and was a pretty easy choice, frankly, for this team's Super Stud Award winner. But sticking with the offense here, I'm going to lower Justin Fields. He has played a lot more bad football than he has good football. Obviously, week 1 was good. The Bengals game was good against a brutal, horrible defense that couldn't pressure him at all. There's been flashes in there. I don't know if you attach to the flashes or not. I would say probably not when the bad games have been as bad as they have been. Honestly, just this last week against Cleveland, he was bad again. He got lucky that the team had 2 return touchdowns. Fields was not good in this game at all. 54 passing yards on top of a really bad interception that gave the Browns a little bit of life in this game. It was just Breece Hall, who's going to be our next player going up, and special teams returning kicks. But also, his game against Denver was the worst quarterback performance I've seen I mean, I think you got to go back to like Nate Peterman's debut against the Chargers when they made him the starter and he threw like 4 first-half interceptions or whatever. I compared that performance to Joe Webb's playoff performance for the Vikings. I mean, if you want to attach to a couple of good performances and be that Justin Fields truther, more power to you, I guess, but he's got to come down, man. It has not been a successful signing. Aaron Glenn was throwing a fit because the media asked him, like, are you thinking about going to Tyrod if he's healthy? I think it's a legitimate question. I think Tyrod is the better quarterback option for this team. Justin Fields has 4 games this season with less than 60 passing yards. Just think about that for a second. He truly is Justin can't see the fields. But at running back, Breece Hall, getting basically the majority of his ratings points back that he had lost over the last couple of years. And if he keeps this up through the rest of the year, he'll get all of them back and maybe some. I mean, he looks outstanding. In a year where there's a lot of backs that are playing at a very high level, Breece Hall is up there, especially this recent week. He took over against the Browns, but he's got the juice back. His long speed looks maybe even better than it ever has, honestly. He just looks incredibly explosive. He's got the power, the shiftiness, the vision. He looks outstanding. And I'll admit, having him at an 84 rating here is maybe even a little bit too low. The only thing is, like, man, last year was really hard to watch on Breece Hall, so I need confirmation that that guy is fully gone and that he can stay healthy. But definitely heading very much in the right direction for Breece Hall. And then the backup, Isaiah Davis, he just continues to look the part when they give him the ball. He's not this crazy, freaky athlete, but he runs extremely hard. He's got toughness and vision, contributes in the receiving game. He's a capable backup. He gets a +2 here, up to a 73. I am going to lower Josh Reynolds as we start to talk about some of these pass catchers. Don't need to spend too much time on it. I mean, he's the number 2 wide receiver for Justin Fields, so as you would expect, the quarterback is essentially never looking at him, but he has been not really getting open. Of his 21 targets, 8 of them have been contested catch looks. He's been pretty tightly covered, and he's only converting 2 out of those 8 looks. So he just hasn't been a good ball winner, even when he does get those looks. So it's just a -1 on a mostly irrelevant player at this point for Josh Reynolds. I do still think as a physical receiver in a more, volume-based, potent passing game, he could still step in somewhere and have usefulness. It's just not really here with the Jets. But the young rookie tight end, Mason Taylor, has checked boxes. It's been a lot of volume work for him. Like, his average depth of targets at 5.7 yards. He's only getting about 8 yards a reception. He had 9 catches for 67 yards. Against Dallas. He had 5 catches for 34 yards against Cincinnati. So it's nothing crazy here, but he's honestly like run blocking a little bit better than I expected, given how slender he looked at LSU. I think he looks the part there. And he's checked boxes as a receiving threat as well. There's not been a ton of dynamism with him quite yet, is what I'm getting at. I'm not really blaming him for that. It's more the offense's fault. But he's going to get a +3, 70 to a 73. He's looking like a promising young tight end that is going to get there in terms of them spending a top. I mean, they spent the 42nd pick on him. You're expecting him to be a franchise tight end for them, and I think the returns this year have been solid there. And then the other tight end, Jeremy Ruckert, nothing crazy here. It's a +1. He's getting some playing time. He's making some catches. He's doing some blocking. He's looked all right as a tight end too. Not going to spend too much more time on that. And then one other offensive lineman is going to go up here. It's Olu Fashanu, their first-round pick last year. He's also playing really well. He's improving even in recent weeks as well, but the pass protection has become much more consistent for him this season. He's been pretty solid as a run blocker as well. Not all perfect. There's some gaffes and negative plays in there, but definitely feels like the Jets have their franchise tackle cornerstone to build around here, which is really exciting. But then we'll go to the defense, and there are a lot of players to talk about here with Aaron Glenn kind of figuring out his unit here. One guy kind of on the outs is Michael Clemens. A couple years ago, he was one of the better tone-setting, heavy-handed, run-defending edge rushers in the league. That wasn't so much the case last year, and this year it's been even less. He's still got the traits to do it. It's down to a 71 here on a -2 for Michael Clemens, but it just doesn't really feel like this is a fit, and he's going to be on the outs. But I am going to raise Will McDonald. He continues to just be an electric pass rusher now. He's a horrible run defender at 235 pounds. He's a one-dimensional kind of pass rush downs player, but he's really starting to figure things out. And if the idea was he can become something like a Hassan Reddick within a couple of years, coming out of that weird Iowa State system where he didn't get a ton of opportunities to just pin his ears back and rush off the edge, the more and more reps he gets, it feels like the more counter moves he's got, the better he's getting at dissecting his matchup. And man, he had a great game against Cleveland. 7 pressures, 4 sacks. That's obviously a standout performance, worth some praise here. But he's had some good moments throughout the year too. So he's up to a 79. He keeps climbing after doing such last year as well. But then on the interior of the defensive line, you have Juwan Briggs, who they traded for from Cleveland. He's been really steady for them, really been kind of this 3 downs, useful defensive tackle in a way that they've needed some guys to step up. He's got 15 pressures on the year on just 112 pass rush snaps. He's showing up as a run defender. He was a traitsy day 3 pick for the Browns, kind of snuck through the cracks. And I would only imagine him looking, I mean, this year he's played at a starting caliber level. We'll see if he can sustain that and all that. But I would imagine, them wanting to get him some more playing time, if nothing else, but maybe as much as them just viewing him as a starting caliber player already. That probably played into them being willing to trade away Quentin Williams in the way that they did. So he's up to a 70. I know that doesn't sound like a starting caliber player, but this is really the first we've seen from him, and he's only played 200 snaps this year, so he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on now. Should be getting, I would imagine, a full-time workload now with Quinnen out the door. But then Jay Tufele as well. Rotational run defender. Not going to spend too much time on him here. This new regime is trying to find their role players, and Jay Tufele, former mid-round pick with some talent coming out of USC, seems to have settled in a nice place where he can contribute against the run. So it's a +2 up to a 67 for him. Now on the downside, Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams is going to come down. He's had a very fascinating season, so it's a -2 for him, down to a 79. And part of this is he wasn't quite as good last year as he was in 2023 anyway. And I was a little bit hesitant to lower him because linebacker's a little bit volatile, and I really liked what we saw in 2023 and all this stuff. So number one, it's like we're getting more evidence that 2023 might have been more of a flash in the pan season for him. Not that he was horrible last year, but wasn't as good. This year, though, he was horrible to start the season. So much so that Aaron Glenn came in and just said, "Nah, I'm benching you. I don't care." He had missed 24% of his tackle attempts. It was brutal to see what he was doing early in the season. Now, 5 weeks later, he's back into the lineup. Had his best game of the year this week against Cleveland. So hopefully turning things back around and can settle back in here with the Jets, and Aaron Glenn can grow an appreciation for Quincy Williams that can really make some plays for this defense, I think. If he had just given up on Quincy Williams like that, I would have questioned the brashness of that benching. But it's good to see him back. A little bit of tough love maybe, but it is a -2 for Quincy. He's missing way too many tackles this year. That's really what it is. It's been brutal. He's at a 22% missed tackle rate on the season. That's still kind of unplayable, and Aaron Glenn knew that when they benched him. So we'll see if we can straighten that up. And in his stead, we got to see Francisco Mauigoa. Now, okay, he's a 65 going up to a 66. It's a +1. I'm not here to tell you he was necessarily playing well. He as well was missing a bunch of tackles, and that's probably why they went back to Quincy. It's like, well, the rookie is not really playing any better, so let's go back to Quincy. And Mauigoa as well, unlike Quincy Williams, had no idea what he was looking at in coverage. He was flying around. He had some, he stood out on a couple of stops. He got some playing time. He's just getting a slight amount of love. He's still a developmental 5th-round pick here that I'm not necessarily optimistic about, but it is a +1 for some of the flashes he showed. But there is one big bright spot in this linebacker room, and it's Jamien Sherwood, who this new regime decided to pay immediately. kind of getting ahead of the curve here. He got a big contract. It was like a $3 or $45 million extension. And it was kind of like a big sticker price for a guy that played well last year, but it was, undersized linebacker, 5th round pick, safety to linebacker conversion project, new system. It was kind of like, I get it. I hope it works out, and I hope he continues to develop into that type of player, and he really has. I mean, the tape doesn't lie on this guy. Even though he's listed at 6'2", 216, maybe he plays a little bit north of that, but he is extremely savvy to find the football. He just is. He navigates blocks extremely well, and he's a solid tackler. 7% missed tackle rate is really good. Those safety background, because he was a legit safety coming out of Auburn that has had a full position change at the next level. But he's got that background, so he's a really nice player, and I'm sure Aaron Glenn just loves this guy. So it's a +2 for him, up to a 78, and he's ascending towards like top 10 linebacker level, frankly. He's coming off a really good year last year. Good to see that, all working out for them. And then in the secondary, the rookie, Azariah Thomas, it's been a rookie cornerback season. It's been an up and down year for him, and I do think you have seen some of the concerns I voiced on him coming out, where if you get him one-on-one in a man-heavy system against some speed on the perimeter, I do worry that he's going to give up some big plays, but he's also shown a lot of the positives, right? The physical coverage, banging with guys down the field. So there's been some wins for him. There's been some losses. It's a +1 for him, 70 to a 71, as we continue to see if he can be a hit as a 3rd-round pick and be a starter for them now that they've traded Sauce away. But then credit where credit's due. Brandon Stephens is playing really well for the Jets this year after a slower start. And I think it's just getting more comfortable playing more man coverage in Baltimore. I mean, they're almost all zone for the most part. Here, they're going to run a lot more man in this Aaron Glenn system. And Brandon Stephens is 6'1", 210 pounds. He's getting the right coaching from one of the best DB coaches in the entire league in Aaron Glenn. So I've been really hard on this guy. I was really hard on this signing. But it's playing out much better. And again, you're looking at Stephens being an acquisition from this offseason, similar to Jawan Briggs. They're seeing some signs from these guys. This is kind of what you want to see with the defensive coach coming in, enough to say, you know what? Yeah, let's get 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Stephens is playing fine. We got a young Thomas that we want to see play on the outside. So credit where credit's due. It's really heading in the right direction for Stephens. And there really is upside there, man. There always was with him coming out of SMU. It's just there's been a lot of ugly on his tape over the last 2+ years. But one signing that really hasn't worked out here, Andre Sisco. They took a 1-year flyer on him. He played very poorly, giving up touchdowns, missing a bunch of tackles, and then very recently did get hurt, unfortunately. But it's a -2 for Sisco. I don't know if he's done for the year or if he's going to be back, to be honest. But I would be pretty surprised if they went back to him when he does come back, because our next guy here, Malachi Moore, the rookie, one of my guys in this draft, he's been playing and he's been all right. There's been some bigger plays allowed for sure. It has not all been perfect with Malachi Moore, but you do see that Alabama DB in him. He's a dog against the run. He's Aaron Glenn's type. He's been a pretty steady tackler as well. I think he's earned the opportunity to keep playing the rest of the year, and hopefully can continue to climb, showing some good things early on. And then wrapping things up with both of the specialists here. Austin McNamara is actually the #1 rated punter per PFF this year, so it's a +7 for him, up to a 76. We'll see if he can keep that up kind of out of nowhere there. And then Nick Folk continues to be really steady for this team. I believe he hasn't missed a kick yet this year. When was the last time you could say that about a Jets kicker? So he's up to an 80 rating now after a +2. So yeah, kind of a fun episode for the Jets. It's been a polarizing season to say the least, but it is fun to see some green lights with some of these younger players, and to see a little bit more in-depth look at the player-by-player analysis, and are things actually going in the right direction for this team? I think yes, they are. So that's really good to see for the Jets. But let's go to the Patriots in the moment most people have been waiting for. Quarterback Drake May got to be the super stud for New England. I mean, there's no question about that. I'm going to the +9 here on Drake May, up to an 83, which puts him right around top 10 quarterback territory for me. I think that's about right, given the fact that he's in year 2. Year 1 wasn't like he burst onto the scene either, but right now he is absolutely playing like one of the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the entire league and absolutely deserves to skyrocket up in the rankings. He's a damn MVP candidate. And if he continues at this rate, it could be another +5 in the ratings when we come back at the end of the year. Maybe after a deep playoff run for the Patriots, because while this team has a lot going right and we have a shit ton of players to talk about for the Patriots too, it's all about Drake May playing at this level that is everything for this Patriots team. And I think you're just seeing the development with his... I mean, everything across the board. The processing's been really good. The anticipation's been there. But Drake May in college would just like randomly spray throws. And even in his rookie season, like there was a lot of inconsistent moments with accuracy and with processing. Again, he has gotten in the lab. He has really taken on this new system. His ability to pick defenses apart has been everything you could hope for in year 2, but I think especially cleaning up the footwork and the accuracy has meant the world to Drake May, who's been, I mean, him and Sam Darnold are on just absolute heaters in terms of deep ball accuracy. It feels like he can't miss pushing the ball downfield. That's awesome to see, but it's the throws on the run as well. He's flipping those hips and making those incredible, play extension types of plays that he's capable of. I just don't have enough good things to say about Drake May. It's been incredible to see this rate of growth for him. So a much deserved super stud award winner there. But let's talk about the rest of this offense. So it's going to be one player going down, and then it's really all positive. So Ramondre Stevenson, it's a -1 for the fumbling issues. The continuation of his fumbling issues really is as simple as that. And I think we can just leave it there. I mean, they showed up again this year. He cleaned them up. Who knows when they'll come back? It's just not comforting to know that is any given week maybe going to show up for him. But the rookie, TreVeyon Henderson, he's coming off his breakout week against the Bucs this week. Really good to see that. After it really has been a disappointing start to the season for TreVeyon Henderson. But the beauty is, because these are my ratings, where he's been disappointing was already cooked in to his rating. I never liked TreVeyon Henderson's vision. I didn't have him rated ridiculously high as a guy with a ton of hype coming out. And I think earlier in the year, we saw a lot of those deficiencies. And I don't think he's through the woodworks either in terms of patience and vision between the tackles either. He did have the one breakaway run this week against the Bucs on a perfectly blocked run right up the middle. I think that was more about the juice and the explosiveness to see that. But he had another breakaway run on a left outside run, right? But he has shown, not just in this game against the Browns, kind of in a DeAndre Swift type of fashion, who I drew a lot of comparisons to DeAndre Swift with TreVeyon Henderson, that if you design the outside touches for him, get him going on crack toss and outside zone, that natural athleticism is going to go to work. And you've seen some really good runs from Henderson in those types of runs. So, it's a +1. It's a 70 to a 73. There's been some legitimate criticisms on him this season, and he still has a lot to prove. But clearly, the man is ridiculously explosive and can be a weapon for this team. So he needs some love. And then a bunch of wide receivers going up. This has been maybe the most surprising thing about the Patriots this year, is how many green lights they're hitting with these wide receivers. And a big part of it, of course, is Drake May playing at the level he's at. It's going to elevate some of these guys. But these guys are all making plays in their own right. And Stephon Diggs is going to get a +1 here. He's hitting the green light with his health. I just wasn't sure at his age, coming off an ACL injury, if this signing was going to be all that worth it. I mean, how many age 30 wide receivers coming off of knee injuries get contracts and then just kind of vanish from the face of existence sometimes? I was afraid of that potential outcome with Diggs. No, he's been really good, and he's really settled in as like a savvy vet type of receiver too. Like he's he's the guy working with Drake May in scramble drill. He's making tough catches at the sideline. Like he's separating and he's always been known as this great athlete and this incredible route runner. He's still doing some of that, but he's winning in different ways. His game is evolving, I think, and that's really cool to see. And then Kayshon Boutte, +5 here, 71 to a 76, and he's really starting to settle in as a legitimate number 2 receiving option. And the reliability in his game, I mean, he is so far removed from previous seasons where he's had drop issues, but even going back to like LSU where he was this kind of like diva, top recruit, speed threat type. It's just not him and who his game is. Like he's matured, I think, in terms of his approach to the game, but just who he is as a football player. Like he's kind of this James Jones-esque receiver, or like Marvin Jones, another guy that comes to mind, is just that like possession number 2 big-bodied receiver. Like he's winning back shoulders, he's winning tough catches down the field, he's been a physical brand of football. It's just really nothing about Kayshon Boutte is what you kind of thought about him coming out as a prospect, and that's really fun to see as well. And then you got Demario Douglas, who's been just absurdly efficient. I wish the volume was more, that I could raise Douglas even more, but he's getting a +1 to a 77. The route running is excellent. He's been like a vertical threat for this team. He's showing that he's not just this annoying underneath slot threat. There's a lot of Josh Downs to Demario Douglas's game, and that's a big compliment. But the fact that they're unlocking him and his speed as a vertical threat is really a difference maker for this offense, and has been in several weeks now. And then even Mac Hollins, he gets a +1 as well. He has a deep completion catch this week against the Bucs. He has been stepping up as their wide receiver 4. Boutte's been out. Mac Hollins stepped right into that opportunity. Or I said Boutte's been out. He was out this week. But yeah, cool to see Mac Hollins step up there, and he's made some catches other weeks as well. This is like a really perfectly crafted 4 set of wide receivers, and we even saw Kyle Williams this week too, getting some opportunities, maybe with Boutte being injured. I'm not going to raise Kyle Williams in terms of overall rating. It was really just that one big catch that stands out to you, and that's something we know he's capable of. I want to see more of it before I raise him, because he is a 70 rated rookie for me, which is pretty nice. What I will say, if we're talking about the Madden ratings themselves, I didn't want the overall to necessarily change, but I did crank up his speed a little bit, and I knew he was fast. I had him, just to be outright with it, I had him at a 93 speed. Now it's up to a 94. I mean, this dude can absolutely burn, and he ran a 4.4 at the combine. Having him at a 93 was already north of that. That would normally be just, the default would be like a 92 speed. And I know we're getting like really into the nitty gritty here. But I already had him north of what I would normally have, because the tape showed that he was faster than that. And you see him pull away on that catch he had against the Bucs this week. I mean, 94 might even be too low. And the GPS tracking that I was fortunate enough to now have access to told you that Kyle Williams has a second gear that wasn't reflected by that 40 time. And I really think if he had come out and ran a 4.3, which I think is in there based on the tape, he probably doesn't go in the 3rd round. So that was a lot of time on a guy that his rating didn't necessarily change because it's just one catch. But if that is the sign of more to come, I mean, that's the missing skill set out of those 4 guys we talked about. Of all those 4 starters that did go up, none of them are really vertical burners. Douglas has some speed, but that's more like running good routes from the slot, breaking zone defenses down the field. Kyle Williams can just straight up line up outside and destroy you as a vertical threat. So if we start to see more from him, and like Travion Henderson starting to figuring things out, this is a Super Bowl contending team, man. And that's just the offense, and that's just the playmakers. I mean, we got to talk about Austin Hooper here. He's playing well this year. I mean, the catch he made, I don't even remember what team it was against, but the back corner of the end zone was just unbelievable hands. He's been run blocking and been a very solid tight end too. So he's going up to a 76 and a +1. But then on the offensive line, Will Campbell, has been really nice for this team. He has stepped in and just risen the floor at that left tackle spot, which was everything they were banking on with him as that 4th overall pick. And he's been really good. And, I know Patriots fans, I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a minute, I thought you didn't like this pick. It's like, well, number one, I didn't hate the pick. I gave it a B. I said it's going to be just fine. He's going to be a nice high floor left tackle for you. I compared him to Bernard Raymond, and I see a lot of Bernard Raymond in his game. My only questions were Armin Membu. Might have been something else to consider there. It's going to be a very fun, and I'm not even just saying this to take away from Will Campbell. It's just like it's going to be a very fun thing to track, those 2 tackles in this AFC East. And then the other guy I would have thought about was T-Mac. Tet McMillan, I mean, he might be doing historic things here in New England if he got to play with Drake May instead of Bryce Young, based on what we've seen from him there. So just to defend myself a little bit, that was the reasoning on a B grade on Will Campbell, but he's been really good, and you see why they took him, like the technique, the footwork, the toughness, it's translated right away. And in a lot of these games, they haven't even had to really think about him at left tackle, which is as much as you can ask. There's been some losses in there, like Nick Herbig got him pretty bad week 3. We saw the Myles Garrett 5-sack game. It wasn't all on Will Campbell in that game, but it played a factor. He's also been penalized 6 times this year, and I think it's also reasonable to look at the schedule he's gone up against, and I'll just say anticipate some stronger opponents coming up. He's faced Atlanta, Tennessee, New Orleans, Carolina, the Raiders, but he didn't see Max Crosby, the Bills, but he didn't see Joey Bosa. Like, the Patriots have kind of had this infamous easy schedule this year outside of a couple of games. I still think there's a lot of boxes to check for Will Campbell to keep climbing up and up and up, before we start talking about him as like a superstar left tackle, as one of the better tackles in the league. I get the sense that some Patriots fans think he's there already. Still want to see it, is basically all I'm saying, but that's not to take away from him. He deserves a ton of credit. He's been really good this year, a +4 for him. Very much playing as a starting caliber left tackle for them. And he's been good in the run game too. But now we can flip over to this Patriots defense that is quietly, I mean, the crazy thing about the Patriots and why they've ascended as much as they have is not only have they hit pretty much every green light imaginable with the offense, but the defense with Mike Vrabel stepping in, they've taken massive strides here as well. And the Vrabel effect has absolutely played a factor. And that starts with Vrabel's guy. Harold Landry has come in, reunited with Mike Vrabel, and played really good football. And that's a surprise to me. I mean, he was the lowest pressure rate in the NFL last year. I thought he was aging, coming off the injury a couple years ago. Like, there just wasn't a lot of juice left. I hated this signing from New England. I slammed them for it, and it's been just fine. It was really good to start the year. He's cooled off as of late, but clearly he can still play, and he's really good within Mike Vrabel's kind of pass rush system, where he's really good at either screaming off the edge and forcing the tackle to step up, where you have these interior players to clean things up, or vice versa, where he's good as a contained rusher. And he's just a very athletic, disciplined edge guy, even if he's not necessarily consistently getting quick wins or winning with a bull rush or anything like that. And he's a contributor in the run defense too. So he's been well worth what they paid him, frankly, and credit to all things Patriots for that, because I did not anticipate that. I think I said the playmakers is where I was off the most with this Patriots team, thinking that was going to be an issue. That's not true. Where I was wrong the most was seeing Harold Landry as a useless person, and he's been very good for this team. So it's a +3 for Landry, kind of back to where he was basically the last time he was with Mike Vrabel. But then also Kayvon Chason. I did really like this signing, and he's been really sweet. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of everything as a rusher. He's got speed. He's got some different swipes and chops that he's really good with. He can win with inside counters. Just an effective player, and it's crazy how reminiscent he is of Arden Key, another highly recruited LSU guy, gets to, kind of moves around the league a little bit, but then gets to pair with Mike Vrabel and turns into a pretty nice player. And to be fair, both Chason and Key showed those signs before they got to be with Mike Vrabel, but it was Mike Vrabel that identified that type of player. So +2 for Chason. And then on the interior of the defensive line, I think some people will want like Milton Williams to go up. I think Milton Williams has been good. He's playing up to what they paid him, what he was last year. I think I've got him rated as an 82. I think that's right for Milton Williams. So just to at least comment on that, he's been worth it for New England. Doesn't mean he necessarily has to go up. But Corey Durden, of all people, has flashed big time for this interior D line. If you're not familiar with Corey Durden, he was an undrafted pickup in 2023 by the Detroit Lions. He has since then played for the Rams, Giants, and now Patriots. Madden had him as a 57 overall rating. That is who Corey Durden is and was before the season. But out of nowhere, they found someone that can impact the passer, dude. He's got 8 pressures this year, and I went in and watched him because I can't say I vividly remember watching Corey Durden coming out of NC State. The name felt loosely familiar to me, but I wanted to get reacclimated with Durden, and he's got some get-off. He's got some power and a rip move. These are real pass rush wins that have resulted in a PFF pass rushing rate of 83.4 this year on 90 pass rush snaps. And you think something stands out like that, again, don't want to just throw PFF grades in your face, but it's good when you can now go into NFL Pro and dial up the tape and see if it confirms it. And it's a good rating, man. I mean, it's a good PFF rating. It shows on the tape. So they found a pocket pusher and a kind of a condenser on stunts and that kind of stuff. So it's a +11 for Corey Durden, up to a 68, all the way down from a 57 rating. I mean, then Kyrus Tonga. I've always liked Kyrus Tonga. Feels like he's just kind of steadily bopped around the league, gets a little incrementally better every year, does some dirty work. He's doing the same thing here in New England. But then at linebacker, Robert Spillane, the second you saw the Patriots sign him, it just felt like he was going to be such a good fit, and that's been the case. He continues to just be a maniac against the run. Now, this year, it has cost him some missed tackles. I wanted to raise him more, but he's at a 13% missed tackle rate right now, more than double what it was last year with the Raiders. So there's been some negative plays in there. Maybe some of the twitch out in space getting exposed by better playmakers a little bit, if there's a reason for it. But I mean, he's just awesome, man. He needed to go up, so he's +180 to an 81. That was an excellent contract that they gave him. I was really surprised the Raiders let him go, and you've definitely felt his loss in that Raiders defense. But then also next to him, Jack Gibbons is another Vrabel guy. He kind of follows Vrabel back over after staying in Tennessee for the year there after they fired Vrabel. But physical run defender. He's been rotating in there and doing, I would just say, Jack Gibbons things. Familiar with him coming out of Minnesota. Not the best athlete, but really a high IQ big, full-size, run-defending linebacker. And he's been their guy in that role. He only plays 20, 25 snaps a game, but he's good at what he does. But then we get to the secondary, and it hasn't all been perfect in the secondary. Christian Gonzalez has been a stud, as you expect, but Carlton Davis he's looking like an aging corner that's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's allowing the highest reception percentage of his career at 65%, which is very mediocre. He's given up 4 touchdowns on the year. I still think he can play, but he's regressing. Already not the fastest player to begin with. So if he's losing a half a step, some NFL wide receivers are going to be able to capitalize on that little extra space. And I think we're seeing that this year. Not the end of the world, but I do think he had to come down. And then Marcus Jones, the slot corner, he's going to come up. I just love Marcus Jones. He's never going to be the perfect corner. He's so small. Like it's not easy for him to always contest catches and that kind of stuff. But he's so feisty in the slot. He gives it his all against the run. I think that's awesome. But you do see 15% missed tackle rate. So like the size holds him back. But he's got 5 pass breakups on the year. Just incredible ball skills, good technique, good zone IQ. Like I had to give Marcus Jones some love, even if it is a volatile brand of corner. And I understand that. I still think the good plays outweigh the bad on him, and he deserved a little love. And then these safeties have been a major bright spot really kind of out of nowhere. I mean, Craig Woodson was an interesting fourth-round rookie, so it's not a huge surprise to see him playing well because he was really good in his final year at Cal. But you certainly didn't head into the year seeing Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar on this roster and say, yeah, Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson is going to be a really nice safety duo for this team. It just hasn't played out like you expected. They've moved on from both Peppers and Duggar and gone with this California Golden Bears backfield. And I don't know if these two guys would have played together. I guess presumably because Craig Woodson was really old coming out. He, I think, played 6 years at Cal. And Jalen Hawkins came out of Cal in 2020. So I think these guys probably would have been teammates at some point. But yeah, they play off each other really well. Woodson's got a ton of range. He's been very solid for a rookie. He's tackling well. He's triggering against the run. He's given up some plays. He's been credited with 4 touchdowns allowed. So it's certainly not all perfect for a rookie safety, which it's hard to be perfect on the back end. So a lot of room to go. Woodson's just up to a 71, but Hawkins has been really nice too. I mean, he's a thick safety, 6'1", 210. He can thump a little bit, but he's made some plays on the back end. He had that one-handed interception against Cleveland, right? That was just ridiculous. Maybe we got to call him Jalen Ball Hawkins. But I'm a believer, man, and he was in Atlanta a while ago. Was a 4th-round pick who showed some flashes early on, but eventually the missed tackles caught up with him. He ended up, losing that job in Atlanta, bouncing around the league a little bit. But there's something there, and he played for this team last year too, and was okay. So I do think he's kind of having a late career breakout here. It's a +4 for Hawkins. He's up to a 73. We'll see if this is their forever duo. And Hawkins alone at 28 years old doesn't have the longest window there, but they're definitely getting the job done for them this year, and it's been enough from a safety room that had a lot of question marks as we approach the season. So that is going to do it for your AFC East Studs and Duds episode. I really hope you guys are enjoying this. A lot goes into it, so if you could please hit that like button on the way out, it would really help me out. Make sure you're subscribed and all that. I want to take just a second to talk about this because I really want your guys' feedback. But I've been thinking a lot about Studs and Duds and its place on this channel and all of that. It can't go anywhere. I mean, this is a staple for the channel. This is the OGs, right? But when I think about its practicality, I do think it's time, and this is not something you guys are going to love to hear necessarily, but I hope it's coming from the right place here. I think it's time, once we finish this session, the midseason Studs and Duds, to make this series a part of the Patreon package. Given the amount of time that it takes for me to do this series, and anytime I upload a Studs and Duds on this channel, I basically lose subscribers and don't make a ton of money out of it. It's just not something that really grows the channel or attracts a lot of people. It really is something I do for the diehard channel fans that I know many of are already on Patreon. But it's something I've thought a lot about. I don't think it's unfair to ask that this becomes a part of the bottom tier on my Patreon, which I think I would make $2.50 a month. And then I would also make each individual video available for individual purchase of $5. I do want your guys' feedback on it. I want your honest feedback. Obviously, the P word, the payroll word, is not a lot of fans' favorite thing to hear. But I'm explaining things from my perspective, and I think it makes just the utmost sense for this series moving forward. But again, let me know in the comments down below what your reaction is to that, if you think it's fair, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we're not going to do that for these next 3 episodes of Studs and Duds, but I wanted to kind of get ahead on that because it might be a big announcement coming for this series in the future. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys as soon as possible for our next division, which is going to be the NFC West. So it should be a really fun one there. I will see you guys soon. Peace out.